Most of you watching this video right now have probably seen me make videos titled similarly to this one, so I bet you know what I'm about to say for those who aren't familiar with me or my channel. I'm a full-time atheist activist who is very involved with the atheist community, both in person and online. I care a great deal about the quality of discourse between atheists in my community, as well as discourse between atheists and those outside of my community. Because of this, I try to be responsible with my words and influence in the hope of creating an atheist community which is constantly learning and improving. Sometimes that means that I feel the need to push back against certain things I've heard other atheists say. So the goal of this video is to improve the discourse we're all a part of. In no way do I mean to say that all or even most atheists say the things I'm about to push back on. If you don't say these things, I'm not talking about you, and if you do, I'm not demanding that you hang on my every word. You're not my disciple, and I'm not your prophet. You shouldn't just believe everything that I say, and I'm not asking you to. I only ask that you consider what I have to say, then do your best to work out its truth value. Let's, from all sides, try to have a productive conversation. We're all born atheists until someone starts lying to us. I decided to put this one first because I want to make the spirit of this video very clear. Some people who are close friends of mine have said or still say this. We've debated over it, and while some have come to agree with me, some haven't. Still, though, we're friends because we try to take well-meaning constructive criticism as it's often intended, as a sign of great care, not malice. So here's my take on this. While it's true that we don't have a belief in God as babies, it describes no more about the psychological state of a baby to say that they're an atheist than it says about the psychological state of an animal or even an inanimate object. Babies aren't capable of comprehending or even having a position on God belief, so even though we often define atheism as lacking a belief in God, saying that babies are atheists effectively communicates nothing about atheism or the psychological state of babies. This phrase also suggests that humans are naturally atheistic, that a people or culture must always be introduced to a God concept from the outside in order to entertain one. However, archaeology and anthropology show us that belief in gods across cultures and across time is probably even more common than written language, which suggests that God belief is natural and even nearly inherent to human psychology. It doesn't convey the right message to say that everyone is born an atheist when we know that humans have a natural inclination to believe in some sort of god or gods. I wouldn't say that people are born theists either, but I would say that people typically have more of a natural inclination toward theism than toward atheism. Lastly, this phrase implies that teaching a God belief to a child is equivalent to lying. This implies that those who teach God belief are themselves unconvinced of what they're teaching, or that they know that they're teaching falsehoods. This idea assumes the beliefs of those who teach God belief rather than taking into account the reasons theists actually give for their positions. If we don't want theists assuming things about us, let's not assume things about them. If theists really do believe that God is real, and I posit that it's an unfounded assumption to say that they don't, then theists are not lying to children when they teach them a God belief. This phrase does not communicate a valuable message, it implies a few things that are false, it makes unwarranted assumptions about the beliefs of those different from ourselves, and it unfairly smears their moral character. This is not a phrase I'd recommend using in any conversation. Reading the Bible will make you an atheist. There are several variations of this phrase out there. Some will say things like, if I were to recommend one book to make you an atheist, it would have to be the Bible. While others have turned it into a kind of meme by saying something like, believe the Bible without reading it and you're a Catholic. Only read and believe the parts that you like and you're an evangelical. Read it cover to cover and you'll be an atheist. I know what a lot of atheists are getting at with this. Plenty of Christians say that they believe in and base their lives on the Bible without actually having a lot of knowledge about it. That's understandably frustrating to atheists and to a lot of better educated Christians, but I still don't think saying this is a good way to deal with that issue. First off, it implies that the only idea of God to consider in becoming an atheist is the Christian one. There are countless conceptions of gods to consider if you're actually interested in exploring the question of God's existence. Now, I can't ask anyone to wrestle with every conceivable idea of a god before taking a position. What I'm asking is that we not encourage religious illiteracy with our bolstering of atheism. If you say that you don't believe in any gods, but when asked you make it clear that you've only ever considered belief in a single god, I'm going to think you haven't really thought through your position much. By saying that just reading the Bible will make you an atheist, you're implying that you think the only concept for an atheist to contend with is the Christian God. That rightly appears very ignorant to non-Christian theists. This phrase also implies that most, if not all, people who read the entire Bible become atheists, and that's an unjustified assertion. There are countless people who have read the entire Bible and are still theists.